So the way I like to think about it is it's not like we're spearing the water. It's not like we're coming in and we want to spear the water and have the rest of our arm follow our hand in. That's not typically how it should feel. If you turn up to the pool and you like to people watch, if you like to watch them swimming to see what they're doing in their technique, then this will be a good video for you, because we're going to do a Feedback Friday here with just above water footage. And I want to show you some things that I'd look out for or sort of spot if we're looking above water only at some swimmers. Now, I'm going to cut to this side shot to begin with, because this is probably the better shot to see. So this swimmer was sent in some video of him in a wetsuit, and I've only got the side and above water shots, side and front views from above the water. Now, the thing from the side here that we're looking at the moment is the entry. So what I've noticed here that he's doing well is he's got a nice rhythm. He's breathing every 2 strokes. The rhythm seems good, and he seems comfortable with it. So I'd make the most of that rhythm. So we don't want to change that. That looks good. Where we can see that he's just slowing himself down a little bit is his entry is very early. It's very close to his head. So typically when we enter, we want to enter out in front of the head, somewhere around here. So if we were to hold our arm out in front of us, and if our arm's here, right, usually we want to enter somewhere from basically the elbow to the wrist, or anywhere in this sort of range if we're thinking of out there. So that means entering somewhere in that sort of position. If we're entering so close that it's going to be before our elbow, which would be very close to the head, it's a long way for that arm to travel forwards in the water. So it can slow you down, because it's a lot of, that arm's going to be pressing against the water in a way. So we just want to go further out in front of the head. And you can see here that when he enters, the fingertips do come up a little bit through there. I'll play it through. You can just see that left hand, it's like he's having to kind of work against that force that he's creating against that oncoming water. So it's not slowing him down massively, but he is having to work that a little bit harder to work through that. So for him to enter in the right position, and I've had this many times at clinics before, is when people do enter that close, is for them to actually get the right position, often they have to feel like they're going so far out in front that they're entering almost at full extension. And that's probably going to be the case with this swimmer here, because it will be a dramatic change compared to what he's currently doing. So the first thing I'd suggest there for him is enter a lot further out in front with your left hand, so that it's just the last little bit of reach and extension that we've got happening in the water. So the way I like to think about it is it's not like we're spearing the water. It's not like we're coming in and we want to spear the water and have the rest of our arm follow our hand in. That's not typically how it should feel. The way it should feel is as though, all right, we're entering out here, and then once the fingertips have hit first, and we want the fingertips to enter first and feel like this elbow is being held up a bit. So as we're going to enter like there, it should feel, you've got to feel like that elbow is lifted in order to get this triangle shape. Because if you just kind of let that go, the elbow is going to drop, and it's going to be a very, what's going to be an elbow, the elbow is going to enter first. So hold that up, fingers first. Then once your hand enters the water, all I think about is just straighten it. Just straighten that arm, and you will actually sometimes hear that elbow slap down a little bit when you do straighten it. It's not like we're trying to emphasize or exaggerate that slap down with the elbow, but it does, that is often the thing that you can sort of hear or you can feel a bit. Because a lot of times people are trying to spear the water and be really perfect and really smooth with it, but it's not how you'll find most of most swimmers entering the water. You don't need to be super smooth with it. We don't want to be really, obviously, messy with it either, but it's not about spearing the water, so to speak. So that would be the first thing he probably has to change. The right arm seems to be doing a pretty good job there. You can see that's a lot better. Elbows up, fingers first, further out in front of the head, and it's a nice, it's a nice entry through there. So there's no need to change that. Breathing looks pretty good. He's breathing to the side there, and he's looking mostly to the side. So his breathing position is great. With a wetsuit, obviously his body position seems good as well. So nothing much to change there. I would probably as well, and because you can't see that much from above the water. We have got the front view here, but there's not a lot we can see because it is a little bit grainy. But you can see also that left hand enters very wide. So it's here, his shoulder's here. This is where we want to be. So in between, like between your ear and your shoulder, somewhere in this range here is where we typically want to enter. But if the hand enters too wide, which it's doing here, is as he's reaching forwards, then think of that. It's kind of like it's like something that's just going to collect the water. It's like a net collecting all that water as you come through. So it's a lot more drag. It's a lot harder to work through it. So if he was able to get that entry to be in line with his shoulder, then it's going to be a much easier path in that reach forwards there. Right hand, it's not too bad. A little bit wide, as you can see. So again, he could come in a little bit more with it, just a little bit, but overall it's pretty good. So that's really all I can kind of see. I mean, if we look at the catch, so on that left arm catch, you'll notice the path, it probably goes out a little bit wide through there. Yes, we want some out sweep, but that looks to be a little bit too much. Just to see what happens on the right one. Maybe a similar thing. It's a little bit hard to see, but he might be out a bit wide on that right hand. So he's probably out too wide on his entry and reaching forwards a little wide, and then he's out a little wide on his catch. So if he can just bring that in a little bit, he's going to be more effective with it. So that's probably what I'll be aiming to do there with him, is just change the path of it, because we can't really see what's your catch like and that kind of thing, but we can see the alignment and all those sorts of things. The other one that I'm sort of thinking here is that he will benefit from letting go a little bit more. So particularly if you're swimming open water and you've got your wetsuit on and you're racing, we don't want to try and be too perfect with our stroke. We need that little bit of letting it go to the point where we don't want to be overly calculated with every stroke. So what that kind of means is that, and it will take some practice to get there, it's not just something that you can switch on straight away, is if he can be a little more assertive and a little more aggressive with the entry, get a little bit more reach and length with each stroke, and then find a rhythm that's a bit more like that. Now, he might be just swimming sort of comfortably here, and so we're not really going to see it, but when he's going to racing or doing anything at kind of race pace, then I'd want to see a little bit more of just that assertiveness in the recovery and the hand entry, and a little bit more reach and length out in front there. Because here, if we're trying to be too perfect with it, then your speed will be limited. You can only kind of go so fast with that. So that would be the other thing. And yeah, look, it's not something that we can kind of see as obviously as some of the other things. But you know, if you're training, so if you're training, you're doing like a 12-100 set at race pace or close to the race pace, what you might call like CSS pace or threshold pace, we'd normally call it threshold pace, then yeah, I'd be looking to practice it in those types of sets there. If you're just swimming easy, like really cruisy aerobic swimming, yeah, look, this is fine. But anything where you're pushing the pace is where we'd want to do that. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to get your own stroke analyzed, you can send your videos to us for Feedback Friday to get posted on here, and I'll provide the URL below where you can submit your videos. It's got the instructions there. If you'd like to have if you'd like to work together, then we also do stroke analysis inside our stroke analysis membership, and that's where you can send your videos to me on a regular basis, and then I'll provide an analysis a bit like this with specific drills and ways to change your stroke. And so there's a private coaching thread that gets set up, and then you can send your videos to me that way. And we have quite a few people doing that on a regular basis and getting some really good results as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.